Oh, that was excellent, Jane. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Well, here I am with Jane Masters, a wine expert, no less, who has been on the Riviera for some time, and she's launched a book. So we're going to get around to that in a minute. So first of all, hi, Jane.
Hi, Mike. Lovely to see you again.
It's great to see you, and thank you so much for joining me today.
A pleasure.
I just really would like to know, well, what brought you to the Riviera? I think that's the main question I want to ask you.
I mean, it's just such a wonderful place, isn't it? I mean, I suppose before I came to the Riviera, I am a Francophile, so I'd actually studied in France, but over on in
Oh,
Bordeaux. And then when I was working full time in London and traveling to France quite a bit, and just thinking, oh, it would be so lovely to have somewhere to get away to, and what better place than this? I mean, you've got everything here. The sunshine, it's a beautiful sunny day today, blue skies very often, close to the mountains, close to the sea, lots of good food, lots of good wine, lots of friendly people. Yeah, I just think sometimes I sit there and think, where else would I possibly want to live? The day when I finally retire, where would I want to be? And I've been very fortunate that I've traveled the world and seen lots and lots of beautiful places. But for me, this is definitely my favorite.
I, I, well, I can only share those thoughts with you. I totally agree. Well, it's nice to hear it. So, you're a wine expert. How does one become a wine expert? It's sort of like being in a sweet shop if you're fond of sweets. How did you do that?
Well, I mean, as you say, I've spent virtually my whole career in wine. So I originally came over to France, having done a degree actually in biological chemistry, and
Oh,
I was interested in wine. So even at university, I'd been working in wine bars and restaurants and things, and just developed a bit of an interest at that point. And I came over to France to do a stage, actually in Cognac in the beginning. And then whilst I was
oh,
in Cognac, I heard about and went to visit the Institute of Oenology, which is in Bordeaux. Oenology is the science of wine and winemaking, and signed up and ended up spending 5 years in Bordeaux studying winemaking, making wine after that. And then
making wine.
yeah, so I was
Tell
originally
me
trained
more.
as a winemaker and I made wine in Bordeaux and I
Oh,
spent a year in Corsica. And then actually I got headhunted to go back to the UK. So I was approached by Marks and Spencer and went and joined their buying team. So
wow.
and things have just gone from there really. So whilst I was at Marks and Spencer, um, traveling the world using that winemaking skills, I guess, to blend and to make wines for M&S specifically. But whilst I was there, they asked me if I was interested in becoming a Master of Wine. They sponsored me through that. So I studied for my Master of Wine, which I got a long time ago now. And yeah, so I've done lots of things since then. I ended up spending 13, 14 years in retail M&S and then probably about the same amount of time again, if not more, as an independent consultant. So I've done lots of different things with clients in different places, wine companies, working with their winemakers to improve the quality of their wines, give them understanding, insight into different export markets, but equally sort of purchasing, sourcing wines for organizations. I worked for many years for a wine club in Canada, sourcing wines around the world for them and presenting them to their members and doing tastings and events and doing a bit of stuff with private clients as well. So I've done lots and lots of different things. All of it fascinating. I mean, the world of wine is always something, you say I'm an expert. Yes, I became a master of wine, but you never finish learning. There's something always happening. Every year is a new vintage. Each year there are new people establishing vineyards or setting themselves up in and rediscovering old traditional regions, and so there's always something to learn and something to do. You're never at the end of that, which is great, and I just love the diversity of it all. Um, yeah, so I don't know whether that really answers your question,
It
but
does, well, to a great extent, except, uh, well, about the spread of wines. I mean, we've got New World wines, which are Australia, New Zealandy, and then you've got South American wines. Put it that way. Can I put it that way?
Yeah.
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 And then you have wines from South Africa. You know, have wines, of course, from France and Italy. Um, which is becoming more and more popular, and which is becoming less popular?
Well,
Or
I
is that
think,
a difficult
yeah.
question?
Well, I think like any industry, there's sort of fashions and things that come in and out of fashion. And we all know that, for example, in France and in the UK, actually, wine consumption has been decreasing quite a bit.
Decreasing.
Certainly, well, yeah, and I'm talking about decades here now. So if
Oh,
you go back to the 60s, say, the average consumption in France per capita was something like 120 litres per person. Now it's about 40. So there has been a sort of shift in drinking patterns, but that is because people are more interested in drinking better quality wines. So they're drinking less but better, and that's a trend that we see in lots of places. In the UK, yeah, New World wines are very, very popular. Less so in France because they're surrounded by beautiful vineyards and make their own fantastic wine. But I think what's interesting is that when you see New World countries or regions emerging, really producing high quality wines, that sort of stimulates people back in what we call the old world. So like you say, France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Germany, actually it sort of has pushed them on, spurred them on to actually up their game somewhat as well. So I think, to be honest, I think there's never been a better time for wine drinkers. If you're interested in wine, the average quality and the top quality of wines has just improved beyond recognition for over the last 20, 30 years.
that's amazing. Tell
Mm.
me, where do they get their wine, the vines from to begin with, to create the wine? And do they
Well,
all come?
most wines around the world are the grape vine is Vitis vinifera, which is the original European vine. So that is what is used now, mainly even in countries that we call the New World. So you know, James Busby, I think, imported vine cuttings from Europe back in the late 18th century and planted them over there. And so, yeah, the most wine producing regions are using Vitis vinifera. And then, of course, you have a multitude of different varieties. So,
Oh,
Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Cabernet Sauvignon. And a lot of work going on at the moment because of the impact of climate change and
going to
how that
ask about that.
impacts growing grapes and the flavors in the wines and the grape varieties that are successful. So.
How is that changing vineyards with the climate? I mean, is this universal or just European? How is it affecting them? The
I
climate.
mean, well, climate and the weather during growing season is really, really important for both the quality and the quality of wine, the amount of grapes that are produced, the style of wines that can be produced. And what we're seeing everywhere really is more erratic weather patterns, a lot more periods of drought, much higher sort of temperature peaks during the summer, and all of that impacts how the vine responds. It's very sensitive to some of these climatic, average temperatures and things. It affects the growth cycle of the vine itself, and therefore the grapes. And obviously, when we have periods of lots of droughts, and in France, in the main, most regions are not permitted to irrigate or to water the vines. They're all actually dry farmed, what we call dry farmed. And so when there is a lot of drought, there's a lot of pressure on the vine, and often you're getting less fresh flavors, and the grapes themselves shrivel a bit on the vine, very, very high in sugar, very low in acidity. It affects the flavors. So you move from sort of fresh cassis, for example, for Cabernet Sauvignon, you move away from cassis and blackcurrant flavors more to sort of figgy, dates, sort of stewed fruit characters. So it's something of huge concern to winemakers, I would say, everywhere around the world, not just here in France.
Mhm.
Chile, for example, if you go back 15 years, everyone's saying Chile is the most amazing place to grow grapes because we've got the Andes with the snow. which provides meltwater to irrigate as much as we want or need. It doesn't have any, because of its geography, it's a long, thin country, sort of separated off by the Andes from other countries. It has much less disease in the vineyards or fungal, mildew and things like that during the growing season. But even there, we're seeing things like climate change impacting the amount of snow that falls every winter, and there being severe pressure on water resources, and a lot of vineyards that were planted are now being uprooted because they just cannot sustain them going
Really?
forward. So yeah, and same in South Africa. If you remember, oh, it must be just before COVID, there were 3 years of consecutive drought in South Africa, to the point that in Cape Town they were seriously limiting the amount of water that people could even consume at home, in terms of showers and toilets and things like that. So anything that was agricultural, vineyards were, obviously you couldn't irrigate, and they lost a lot of very old vines. Actually, they survived the first couple of years, got onto the third year, and just could not take that lack of water anymore, and just sadly died. Because I assume but not everyone knows that vines can live for decades. Most of them, 20, 30, 50, over 100 years. So they had some really old vines that had always lived through all of that. And unfortunately, climate change got the better of them in the end.
Really? Oh, God,
Mm.
I didn't know that. So, where is the most unusual place for wine growing? Because I hear China has wine. Uh,
Yeah, China. I'm not a huge expert on Chinese wine, but China is quite and I've never been to any of the regions in China, but um, China has got an amazing mountainous sort of
hmm.
regions where you've got every exposition to the sun and hidden valleys and all sorts of things. And I think um, in the last few years, so China had always grown a lot of table eating grapes, so we call them table grapes. But in the last few years, they've actually really started doing much better at planting white grapes for wine and making wine, and bringing in expertise and learning from European and New World winemakers, just how to improve their wines. And also some of the French companies, LVMH, for example, have gone and invested in vineyards over in China as well. So
Really?
yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
and going back to Chile and Argentina, you've got a lot of, with climate change, people actually moving vineyards up into more higher altitudes so that they get the cooler temperatures. Um, it's a bit controversial, I would say, because actually, if you're breaking virgin ground and planting something, it's not necessarily the most sustainable thing that you're doing, because you're affecting that sort of biodiversity and the ecosystem that you're moving into. But yeah, there are some really quite extreme places that people are making wine now. Yeah, and in Northern Europe, there are wineries, people making wine in the Czech Republic, in um, lots of places which you would never have expected. And England, of course, English wine has
well, we
become
hear
such
about it.
a such a thing. And making really, really good sparkling wines in particular. So it's still a cooler climate, quite similar to the climate, and the soil is very similar to the soils in Champagne or in Chablis.
Oh, is
So
it?
limestone, clay soils,
Okay.
and people have invested, planted vines, and making really good wine. So
So it's
yeah,
moving. It's moving along, which brings us neatly. You mentioned the word sustainability, which takes us into your book.
yes.
So tell us about that.
My book. Okay, my
Yeah.
book is called. Oh, you can't see. It's not in focus. But there we go. It's called Rooted in Change: The Stories Behind Sustainable Wine. And basically, as the title suggests, it's a book about wine and sustainability. But I would say it's for anybody that's interested in wine or in sustainability or in business generally. So it's looking at some of the challenges that are facing the global wine trade and wine companies. But it's also, I would say, there are a lot of parallels between what the wine trade is facing and what any business or what all of us really are facing. So it talks about all aspects of sustainability. So I mentioned the importance of climate
Mm.
to vineyards and growing grapes, but it touches on other aspects of environmental sustainability as well as social sustainability and economic sustainability, and takes you from growing grapes in the vineyard, which is similar to any other agricultural crop that you would be farming, through to what's happening in the winery. So again, parallels with any manufacturing of consumer goods through to how they're packaged,
Wow.
how they get from production to our glasses as consumers, and indeed what happens to the packaging at the end of the day. So um, it's it's uh, it's it's it's
It's not about wine, it's
it's
about the
not a
business of
huge
wine.
tone. It's
It's
about wine and the business of wine and sustainability, I would say. Yeah. But we've had lots of really
fascinating.
good feedback. It's been
Hmm.
great. So
I've
I
read
don't know
about that.
if you know Jancis Robinson, who's the wine critic
Oh
for
yeah, yeah, of course.
the
She's
Financial
huge. Yeah.
Times. So she has a jancisrobinson.com website. They've done a really, really lovely review. I had lots of other good comments. Weekend FT, lots of podcasts if people want to hear more about the actual content of the book. There's lots of podcasts available and things. But yeah,
Is it
it's
on Amazon?
exciting.
Is it on
It's on
Amazon?
Amazon. It's on
Good.
Amazon, and it's in lots of bookshops in the UK. It's on Amazon worldwide. I know that friends have bought it down here in France, so it definitely works, and have had it delivered. And I know that because they've asked me to sign their books, so I've seen them in real life. So yes, it's available.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Are you going to do an audiobook version?
Do you know? That's a very good question. We did talk about it with the publisher some time ago, and this was only published about a month ago. 1st of October it came out, and it's another question I need to go back to our publisher, which is Académie du Vin Library, and just see where we're at with that, because it's sort of slipped my mind. I've been doing so many different
I can
things.
believe it. I can believe it. Well, let's go back a bit to local or Riviera.
Yeah.
Where is good for wine here?
Well, I mean, I live in the old town of Nice,
Mm.
so I'm based between here and London actually. So I'm not here all the time, but when I'm here, there are so many like great places. One of my favourites is Cave de Cour, which is just set back on a little road just behind the Cours Solea, where the marketplace is. And they just have an amazing selection of wines. There's lots of other on Cours Solera itself. There's Café des Amis, which is really nice, and they do lots of little dishes and great food. Where else have you got? One of my old time favourites was La Part des Anges, which has been around probably as
Oh,
long as I
yeah.
have here in Nice, so a long time. But they have a great selection, and again, they do sort of nice plates and food sharing platters and things like that. So there's just so much choice, and then obviously we're not that far away from many vineyards, so you can go up to Belley and visit the vineyards around there. We're not far from Provence, so head over to the Var. So many great rosé wines now, but equally we're not far from Italy. We're just across the border. So
True.
getting into Alba, into visit Piemonte, even we have friends who live in Tuscany, so we occasionally drive, and it's not next door, but within 4 hours we can be in the heart of Tuscany and surrounded by vineyards and fine wine and food. So yeah, fantastic.
It's a great benefit of where we live that these things are available to us. Have you ever been to
Yeah.
the Chateau de Cremant?
I have, but I have to admit it's a long time ago now. I mean, it's stunning from the outside, but a long time since I've been inside and visited that. And it's probably quite a while actually since I've done a serious tasting of Bellay wines. But again, there's some very interesting. It's such a small, tiny little region, really, with its own unusual grape varieties. And yeah, I need to do a little tour up there very soon and find out what's going on.
That'd be great.
Particularly as now the 2025 harvest is all in, and they'll have made the wine, and it will be, we'll be able to taste the results of all of that fairly soon. So
So that's absolutely fantastic. So I think we've come more or less to the end of our little chat today. I could go on forever because I enjoy the subject. Just so your book is available at Amazon. I'll put the links in the text. And if people want to catch up with you professionally, is there a J Master website?
Uh, the website, I wouldn't. The website needs serious work on it, and I think it's down at the moment. But I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to get hold of me. I'm on LinkedIn. There's quite a few posts that I've done recently as well, just with links to other things. If people are interested in hearing more about more about what's in the book, there's a couple of links to podcasts and things that I've done. So yeah, that's probably the best place to be.
Well, thank you, and I really enjoyed chatting to you today. I've learned a lot, which is remarkable.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, Mike, and
Yeah.
thanks so much for the opportunity. It's been fun. Great to catch up with you.
Okay, so remind us of the book title, please.
So the book is called Rooted in Change: The Stories Behind Sustainable Wine.
Brilliant. I'm going to get a copy. Thank you so much, Jane. Really, really appreciate it. And well, hope to see you soon.
Indeed. Thanks a lot.
So now we're going to hold a little smile while I go and find the off button.